Nigerian update for the week. And if you're watching us for the first time, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at DJN TV and do not forget to click on the notification bell for more superb video. I am Umaru Latifa. DJN TV.
Well, my name is Pastor Ize-Iyamu. My father was the former, we used to be the Ize-Iyamu Bini Kingdom, Chief Robert Ize-Iyamu, and my mother was Mrs. Margaret Nado Ize-Iyamu ni Obaswan. I grew up in a traditional home. My father and mother were very strong members of the United Baptist Church. My mother's father, Pa Baswan, was one of the founders of that church. And my father was also very active in the church. So the church was there, we used to go there often, but at the same time we grew up in the Catholic Church, which was just by us, St. Joseph Catholic Church, which is now known as, it's still St. Joseph, but the school is now a primary school. That's the school we went to. And again, that was a property that was donated by my great-grandfather to the Catholic Church to encourage them to put a church and a school there. So when we were growing up, all of us practically went to St. Joseph Catholic School, as it then was, and we also went to the church. So we actually raised as Catholics. We used to go to the church, we were baptized there, took communion there, and we used to play ball at the big field by the church. So we grew up as Catholics. But later in life, when I had my accident in 1995, I came out of it and I vowed that I need to become closer to God. I joined the Redeemed Christian Church of God. And there I became a worker in the church, a minister, assistant pastor, a pastor, and today I'm not just a full pastor in the church, I'm also the assistant pastor in charge of Province 2, Region 13, which is Edo State, in charge of Soul Winners Assembly and Christian social responsibility of the church. Well, I got married in 1994. I joined the Redeemed Church that was close to my house. And there I was until one day, I answered the call to become a member of the workforce of the church. From being a worker, I moved to become a minister. And before I knew it, there I was, pastor of the church. And to the glory of God, I've risen in the church, and I'm now an assistant provincial. Edo people, good afternoon. I want to speak to you a humble suggestion about strategies to defeat the COVID-19 pandemic. In the past few days, Nigeria has recorded more confirmed cases of COVID-19. Within a week, the number, according to the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, has doubled, growing from 300 to well over 873 cases now. Sadly too, we have recorded more deaths, including that of Malam Abba Kari, the Chief of Staff to President Muhammad Buhari, and one of the country's best minds. Yet, we cannot despair. We must react with our heads and with our minds to avoid needless loss of lives by adhering to established medical protocols to prevent the spread of this deadly virus. The protocols are already well stated, but there's need to repeat them. At individual level, the protocols include staying home, social distancing, regular washing of the hand with soap and running water, use of sanitizers, and self-isolation in case of exposure to anyone who has tested positive to the virus. At the level of community, state, and nationwide response, the most critical protocol is total or partial lockdown of the community, state, or the nation as a whole. Lockdown or quarantine has proved to be the most effective solution to contain and break the spread of the virus, but it comes with serious economic and social consequences that can only be afforded by countries with advanced economy compared with that of Nigeria. For us in Edo State, we must step up our response to this risk. We need to find innovative and palliative measures to immediately respond to the effect of this pandemic and proactively deal with the green projections. We recognize that the state government has taken some steps to alleviate the consequence of disruptions caused by the pandemic, even though we believe more can be done to ensure that the distributed relief items reach the very poor in need of them. At the moment, the state government's effort is bedeviled by enduring accusations of middlemen who divert items and prevent them from achieving intended objectives. This must be addressed. We also recognized that government cannot be left alone in these efforts. At this moment of tremendous challenges, our sense of community service and compassion must inspire us to get down to work for the people and protect lives against the negative impact of the pandemic outbreak. Independent of government efforts, as responsive citizens of Edo State, we must stand up to assist in the efforts to provide succor for the people. This is why in the last several weeks, the Ize-Iyamu support organization has widely distributed enlightenment literature, as well as medical relief and food materials to a vast number of the people of Edo State. But we recognize there is more to be done. That is why we are calling on capable and well-meaning people in and out of the state to come to the aid of not only the poor, but also those in the informal sector of the state, whose businesses and daily endeavors to earn a living have been disrupted by the outbreak of this pandemic. The complete lockdown or quarantine of all residents in the state is obviously difficult, if not impossible, especially in the absence of government support or palliatives for those who have no money, food, and depend on daily work to feed their families. Though the government has not implemented this, we remain concerned with the ongoing measure of partial lockdown because of its heavy tolls on citizens' welfare. We believe that the implementation of the measure can be done more creatively by allowing movement of people and opening up of business activities in such vital areas like trading and other essential ventures with strict monitoring of adherence to social distancing. As a further measure to defeat the virus, we urge government to initiate and encourage the mass production of protective gears and sanitary products such as face masks, protective gloves, and hand sanitizers. The Ize-Iyamu support organization and other well-spirited persons have reached out to local tailors and seamstresses to mass produce face masks using our local fabrics to be freely distributed across the state. These and other suggested measures will yield multiplier effects by increasing cash flow within the state, thereby re-energizing the state's economy, which is already suffering from the negative effect of the pandemic. We also urge government to increase the state's testing capacity by embarking on widespread testing across the state. In this regard, government needs to follow the example of Lagos State and follow through in its promise to increase testing capacity by opening more testing centers across the state's 3 senatorial districts. At present, information available to us show that there is no testing going on in the Edo North senatorial district of the state. Even in the capital city of Benin, no tests have been carried out several weeks after the confirmation of the first case of COVID-19. This is worrisome
because without sufficient and widespread testing, it will be difficult, if not impossible, to discover assumptive cases of the virus and ensure that positive cases are effectively separated from virus-free people. This step is crucial to flattening the curve and obtaining data that could guide the government's deployment of resources instead of using a scattered approach based on speculations. As a further step to ameliorate the negative impact of the pandemic, we urge the state government to suspend daily taxation of business owners in the informal sector throughout the period of the pandemic. Apart from helping to cushion the effect of the pandemic for such business owners, the freeze on taxation will leave small businesses with enough cash flow to continue in business in these difficult times. This will have positive multiplier effect on the state's informal economy, which, as we have identified, is the mainstay of our people. An important measure which must attract the state government's attention at this point, more than ever before, is the agricultural sector of the state. We urge government to articulate an aggressive policy response to ensure that with the onset of the rainy season, farmers in the state are encouraged through fiscal intervention and agricultural extension services to increase food, crop and animal production across the entire state. In this regard, we urge government to reach out to all stakeholders in the cultural sector with a view to quickly formulating the necessary policy intervention in the cultural sector of the state in response to the pandemic. The overall objective is to ensure widespread availability of food during and after these anxious times. We had earlier advised the state government to establish food banks across the state where essential foodstuffs can be mass purchased directly from the farmers and kept for the rainy day. This advice, unfortunately, was ignored. While we have drawn attention to the immediate direct impact of the pandemic on small and medium-scale businesses, we must not ignore its impact on big businesses as well, despite their apparent strong absorptive capacity compared with small and medium-scale businesses. Big businesses also occupy strategic position in the economy of Edo State as they provide employment to a sizable number of our people, which may be lost if such businesses collapse because of the pandemic outbreak. Therefore, we urge the state government to lend efforts towards intervening on behalf of these businesses, including income tax breaks and other incentives within the capability of the state in order to keep them in business, to continue providing employment for our people and rendering services to the state. It is important to stress at this point that accuracy, honesty, and transparency are important values that both government and citizens alike must display for our efforts to yield success. The state government must lead by example in this regard by communicating plainly and truthfully its interventions, the state of affairs, and new development when they arise. A good way to start will be to disclose in specific detail the financial assistance it has offered to medical institutions in Edo State, especially from the over 1 billion the state government claims it has spent in the fight against COVID-19, including a breakdown of expenditure for palliatives. In the event that it hasn't, we encourage the state government to do so. If there's one lesson we must learn from the grim reality of other countries, it is that this is not the time for propaganda, exaggeration, or concealment of facts in an attempt to look good. Insincerity and unwillingness to surrender accurate information is dangerous and can put others at great risk. Finally, let me end this intervention by once again calling on all the good people of Edo State and residents to cooperate with government in its efforts to articulate and implement measures for the purpose of halting the spread of COVID-19 and defeating the pandemic in the state. We must all acknowledge that so much more still needs to be done to ameliorate the conditions of our people as we collectively and individually defeat the pandemic. I have tried to suggest some measures which the state government can immediately adopt to further reassure our people that government is determined to play its role of catering for their welfare. On the part of citizens and residents of the state, I urge you all to remain law-abiding and to comply with all the medical protocols put in place. This is to prevent avoidable deaths in the state while keeping the state economy going throughout these difficult times. May God Almighty continue to bless the good people of Edo State. Oba Atokbe is
update for the week. And if you're watching us for the first time, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at DJN TV and do not forget to click on the notification bell for more superb video. I am Umaru Latifa.
DJN TV.